Hi everyone, this is Mr Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. This is of a patient who attended with really occluding and impacted earwax in both ears, and we are going to start off with the patient's left ear. You can see that the patient's got loads of tragus hairs. So the tragus is the piece of cartilage just before the entrance of your ear canal, and people can often get tragus piercings there. And this particular patient's got loads of hairs that are growing on the tragus. And what I did with this left ear, I put some olive oil spray immediately just to bind the wax up. So I actually performed the procedure in the patient's right ear first and then the left ear. And but for the purposes of this video, I swapped it around, the order. And that's because the right ear is a bit more complex, took a bit longer, is a bit more impacted. So I thought, let's just show the left ear, which is a bit far simpler. And when I was performing the wax removal in the right ear, I also had to use some drops there. Therefore, when I switched to the left ear, I just put some drops in right from the offset. And you're probably thinking what the title of the video is all about, and you'll learn about it in a moment when we do the right ear. So there's the patient's eardrum, nice and healthy. You can even see the incus, which is the second of the three bones in the middle ear. So in the middle ear, attached to the eardrum, you've got the hammer bone, which is the bone that's visible, and that's kind of stuck to the eardrum. We call that the malleus, but the more common phrase when you're learning about the ears at school, for example, it's called the hammer bone. Then you've got the anvil, which is the second of the three bones, and within audiology and medicine, we call that the incus. And you can't always see the incus when you examine the patient's ear, but in this patient you could. And then you've got the smallest bone in the body, called medically the stapes, and that connects to the organ of hearing, the cochlea. And the more layman term for the stapes is a stirrup. So we're just on here on the right side. Now this is a lot more impacted, this wax. It took a bit longer, and at the entrance where I am now, this wax is a bit softer. There's a lot more keratin, dead skin here actually. And it was a bit mushy, and I'm just trying to detach it off the canal walls. Again, there's a few cilia there. So that's when you see hairs in the ear, that means you're more often than not near the entrance of the ear canal. So when we train our clear wax delegates, I always use the hairs as a landmark, because we all got them, whether it's long hairs like this patient or very small short ones. But by visualising the hairs in the ears, the hair should stop in the outer third. So beyond the outer third of the ear canals, in the inner two thirds, with the bony parts, you shouldn't really see any hairs that are growing off the canal wall. So again, it's a landmark that I use when we train our clear wax delegates to perform endoscopic ear wax removal. So I just put some olive oil here. And so the phrase Jenga, after the procedure, or during the procedure should I say, I was telling the patient that as soon as I get one piece of this wax out, I'm pretty sure that the rest of it will come out far easier. And it's just manipulating this plug of wax, so I can get almost the fulcrum, if you like, removed. And once you've got the centerpiece, everything just falls into place. And so when we're doing the wax removal procedure, I kind of made reference to Jenga. It's like that's how it is. You kind of remove one block and everything just falls over. It's like a pack of cards, and you're building, you're creating a little house with them or some other object, and you just tip one card over, and it has a domino effect. It can cause the other cards to also fall. And happens with earwax removal sometimes. You just persevere, you get one piece out. Now I didn't want to use any other instrumentation in this ear because it was fully enlarged and there was no opening there. So by inserting things over and through the wax, sometimes you can push it against the eardrum. And the patient did advise that they were experiencing some earache here, so it's very likely that some of this wax was already compressed against the eardrum. And when you sometimes put instruments in and around and through the wax, before removing it, you could be impacting it even further against the eardrum. It can be a bit uncomfortable. So I'm just persevering here, just trying to wriggle this out. Now, I am bringing this plug of wax forwards near the entrance, but the plug of wax is actually larger than the patient's entrance. So we're just trying to wriggle it through, and that's why I use some oil as well. Oil can not only be used to bind the wax together to change the consistency, so you can suction it a lot easier, but it can also be used to lubricate not only the internal suction probe so it doesn't get blocked, but also the ear canal. Similarly to the use of soap, if you've got a ring stuck in your finger, you apply a bit of soap around the ring and your finger just to aid the lubrication effect so that you can tease the ring out. And similarly, we're using olive oil spray to tease this wax out. So I think this is the Jenga moment coming soon. When I remove this plug, it's quite dry wax now, this piece. It detaches itself from the main body. There we are. Now everything else comes out far more easier. And you can actually see now the wax plug extends all the way to the eardrum. So I made the right call to avoid any instruments just in case we push it further against the drum and cause a bit of discomfort. So it's going to come out nice and easily now. All these plugs came out in pellets almost. So you have to have patience with earwax removal. Again, we always I always stress that to the clear wax delegates. You can't always have the money shot. Earwax does require a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, and sometimes you just gotta. There's no shortcuts. Well, there's always shortcuts, but some of these shortcuts can be quite uncomfortable for the patient, which I don't believe is the right way. We're always trying to keep the patient comfortable as possible. So nice healthy eardrum. We're just going to mop up around the ear. So once we've got that initial plug out, everything, all the rest of the wax, which is quite a lot, you'll still image in a moment, all came out freely without any resistance. And again, just wipe the camera lens, just going back into the ear. You can see the hammer bone, and then you can see the incus there. That's all the contents of both ears. You can see that this wax is quite dark, it's almost black in appearance and colour, and which means it's oxidised, it's been there for a while. Wax, freshly secreted wax, is more of a brown, light brown shade, almost orangey, and then as it oxidises, a bit like an apple or an avocado, when you cut into it, the oxygen reacts. Unless you put the apple or avocado into water with some lemon juice, for example, some acidity, to prevent the oxidisation process. And it's the same thing with wax. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Take care. I shall speak to you soon. Bye.